One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome everyone. This is Joe Danger, the host of the Business 901 podcast. With me today is Brandon Brown. He is an associate for the W3 Group and delivers tangible and sustainable continuous improvement results as a Toyota Kata coach and lean instructor. Since 2006, Brandon has been a professor of operations management at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, teaching courses in the industrial engineering department, such as lean production and leadership principles, and practices for the Master of Science in Operations Management degree program. Brandon is a Southeast Region board member for the Association for Manufacturing Excellence, also a Certified John Maxwell Coach, a teacher and speaker, and that's a first-time guest on my program, a John Maxwell Coach. Brandon, this is just really impressive because this is just what you're doing now. I hate to even mention the past, so
yeah.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks. I appreciate you having me on.
Where'd you find the time for all this stuff? You must be a busy guy.
Yeah, pretty busy. I've got a little bit of a lull right now, so I've been able to do a little catch-up work with presentations and prepping for upcoming presentations and workshops. So I was able to work it in, so it's great.
Well, this is awesome. Now, what we came here to talk about today was Toyota Kata. You have a lot of experience to that. Your W3 group does, but let's just start at the basics, okay? So let's start out with what is Kata?
Okay, a Kata, if I could discuss briefly just the basis of it, it's really a routine, or I've heard it translated as a way of doing, a way of practicing in order to gain skill or to develop a skill. And many times it's used in the martial arts setting. Many people will be familiar if they are from martial arts or they've taken Taekwondo as a kid. You know, you learn forms for blocking and kicking, and you practice them to both learn the proper form, but also to teach your muscle memory and get your brain to thinking in a pattern of learning that particular skill. Well, we do it also in music. My son is learning to play the violin, and music teachers use it, and I don't think they even realize that it's a kata. The first thing that he taught my son in violin is how to hold the instrument properly, how to hold the bow, and had him play all 4 strings with the proper bow angle to learn that. He then progressed one level up and taught him how to play the first closed notes by pressing his fingers onto the strings. And eventually he's to the point of learning the next step of how to play a song. Now, the teacher doesn't teach him the whole song, just like in martial arts. They don't teach you all 26 kata that are involved with karate. The teacher in music focuses on just the first bar, and maybe it's the first 10 notes. And he wants him to repeat that over and over so his brain is learning and his muscles are developing the point where it's starting to become a habit or a skill that seems natural. So a kata is a way of practicing, a way of doing a particular routine, and we really use it in many areas. One thing that's interesting from some of the research that Mike Rother has done, who wrote the book Toyota Kata, is that what we're learning from neuroscience is that even we as adults, we want to learn, or we seek to learn in a particular repetitive pattern. Our brains are tremendously adaptive organs that really, as we learn a new skill, as we practice a kata over and over again, we get new neural pathways that actually start to allow us to form a meta habit, so to speak. Almost slip into the routine once we've mastered the particular skill into a metacognition. Those terms are used throughout neuroscience, and I can give you an example of how we as adults have turned something into a meta habit, and we function under metacognition. At 14, 16, 17-year-old, we always, all of us learn to drive a car usually at that age, and you're really excited, you know, the first form of independence, right, of going out into the world. But when you first get in the car, if you can think back to that time, it's pretty intimidating to a 14 to 16-year-old. You've got the brake pedal, the steering pedal, the turn signal, the steering wheel, how do you adjust the mirrors, the seat, and everything. And we as adults, 15, 20 years later, we kind of slip into a metacognition. We drive and don't even think about how to operate the car. We react to the stoplights and the traffic, all while carrying on a conversation with someone next to us. So we slip into that metacognition because we've mastered that particular skill. So that in a nutshell is a kata and the way that it's developed, how our brain learns skill and repeated patterns.
Well, I think that's interesting because what jumps at me is video games. I mean, because we seem to learn a very small portion of it and master a certain portion of it before we move ahead. And that continuous effort in breaking it down to the easy habits first and then going on to more difficult parts of the program, let's say, or more difficult skill levels. And is that a good description of a kata?
Yes, how kids go and learn a particular game, or adults that play games or whatnot. What makes it interesting, though, to note is that those controllers are built for a small hand of a 7 to 13-year-old. So I've never mastered the muscle memory of getting and making all those jumps, kicks, punches, and movements. But yeah, you learn those, and if you watch a kid or an adult that plays video games, they're looking at the screen and doing all kinds of moves, and their hands are moving almost like someone typing that can type without looking at a page.
Well, and I think about that a little bit because it allows them to master other games and other video games so much quicker because those movements are ingrained in their system. I mean, even texting, they can text with a phone in their pocket while they're in school. Okay.
Exactly. Their muscle memories have adapted. They've got new neural pathways to function with their thumb and index finger, and that's exactly a transfer of a skill over to another area where it's useful.
Popularity of kata right now. Is it just because Mike wrote a great book, or why the focus? Why now?
Well, I think there's several points as the reason why kata is popular now. And if I could cite an article that Dr. Leiker and Mike Rother wrote for LEI a few years back, they cited a 2007 Industry Week survey, and it found that only 2% of companies were able to achieve through their lean program the objectives that they wanted to achieve. It went on to say that Shingo Prize committee members went back to former winners, and they found that very few of them were actually continuing to improve after they won the award. Most of them declined, either plateaued or declined in their continuous improvement efforts. So I think people are coming to look and ask the question, is kata the next lean thing? Is it the next step, the next evolution in lean? Or are we implementing lean tools incorrectly? I think is one of the big questions. They're coming to us, particularly at the W3 group, seeking a way to sustain and align their organization. I think another reason is there's always been that age-old resistance to change by most everybody. We've constantly battled that over the past 20, 25 years within lean. And kata gives us a form for continuous improvement using the improvement kata and the coaching kata to overcome some of that resistance to change. People want something to hold on to, kind of like holding on to the railing on a subway or a bus or something like that. And kata gives them that comfort to be able to practice. I heard John Shook one time say that Toyota Kata or the improvement kata and coaching kata, it's not the solution for cancer, it's a way to develop a solution for cancer. So a little bit of difference there in thinking that it's going to be like an injection and your lean production system is cured. It's more like a daily vitamin that you're taking in order to keep a healthy program.
What's the best way for someone to contact you and learn more about Toyota Kata? Where would you point them?
I would point them, they can email me directly at brandon.brown@w3groupllc.com. They can go to our W3 website and meet all of our practitioners on there and make contact. There's a lot of resources, a lot of presentations, a lot of information that they can self-educate themselves a little bit more and a little bit further about that. But they can feel free to email me. My cell phone is usually always on. It's 479-856-1919. So I'm willing to take a call and discuss opportunities and where companies feel that their pain might be where they might be able to improve.
Heck, he even took my call, so which I thank you very much. This podcast will be available on the Business 901 iTunes Store and the Business 901 website. So thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks, Joe.
Better